Okay, we're going to open the Victoria County Municipal Council meeting for Monday, March 14th. And just prior to our opening council, we want to acknowledge that this meeting is being held in Unama'ki, one of 7 traditional districts of the Mi'kmaq and the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. So with that, the agenda has been circulated. And are there any additions or deletions? So just, do we have a motion to accept the agenda as circulated? Moved by Councillor McNeil, seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. So just a reminder that your mics are on and people can hear you when your mics are on and can't when they're off. So hopefully our new technology will work tonight. Just before we open our meeting tonight, we want to recognize a couple of individuals that made a real commitment to our community and to Inverness County. Last week we had the passing of Warden Laurie Cranton. He has been a longtime member of Inverness County Council. He was the warden. He passed away last Thursday, and former village commissioner and chair Eddie Keeling, who was a resident of the deck, passed away last week as well. So we just want to recognize the commitment they made to their community, and we want to extend our sympathies to both their families. So we would ask that we just take a few minutes of silence in memory of those people that served their community. Thank you very much. Just tonight as well, Deputy Warden Daphne is out of the province. Councillor McLeod is absent tonight to medical issue, and Councillor Oregon is also away from Victoria County tonight. So we have a group of 5 that allows us a quorum and allows us to conduct our business as normal. So we've approved the agenda. And our first guest this evening is Jim Mustard, and he has visited us before. Again, he's joining us tonight on behalf of Raising the Villages. So welcome, Jim, to Victoria County Council, and we'll turn it over to you for your presentation. We'll open it for questions upon completion of your presentation.
Thank you. I've got my stopwatch. I'm going to start now. So first off, thanks for recognizing the loss of our warden, Laurie Cranton. He was one person I worked with for 4 years and just really appreciated his caring, thoughtful, and consistent leadership. It's not an easy place to be, as we all know, serving our people. And the more we can work together at that level of, working together to really understand each other, which Laurie really did. And so it's a sadness. We know he was struggling with his health, but just to have lost him, it's a big gap in where I live in the Margareys, and I think across the island. So thank you for recognizing it. And condolences also the loss to a member in your community. So I was driving up and going there's a lot of words with the letter C that I like cooperation and community and caring and the idea of collaboration. And yet we're really, the last few years, it's been tough with COVID. And it's been really tough with what we're seeing right now with the cost of living. It's increasingly tough with the conflict. I think both the conflict we saw nationally going on just between us not understanding ourselves and what's going on, and then what's going on in Ukraine. It's very unsettling. And I can't imagine how hard it is really to be at any level of government. It's tough enough in the communities we're working in. So I'm just recognizing that as we go forward, because one of the ways forward is just to see how we're going to respond when we come out of this. How are we going to create the space for us to regain some of the sense of community, which is more of a practice than a place. It can be a place, but it's more, hey, how are you doing today? See you at the co-op, bump into you, be able to spend the time together again and really reconnect. So that's one of the things that I've sensed in the last couple of years that is really just as we're queuing this up. that is an opportunity, but it's just a recognition of where we're at. So the first slide, Raising the Villages, Mawiomi Mijiwajik, which translates to Gathering for Our Children. And once again, as the warden said, we're located here in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And through Raising the Villages, Mawiomi Mijiwajik, we are weaving back together our lives from our infants to our elders and from across all cultures to deepen our respect and understanding for each other. And just a little side story, even that 15 minutes is tight. I got to go to the North Highlands Elementary with my friend Margaret Poulette, an elder, and she's a residential school survivor, and they took her doll away when she got to residential school, so she made one out of rags that she cut out and a piece of goldenrod. But got to go up to North Highlands in the fall with her daughter, Rosie, and it just blew me away. The school blew me away, the administration, the students, so interested in hearing her story firsthand. So just kudos that isolated as you are, the outward looking, the curious, and really engaged community. I just use that as just one of those reconciliations that was going on in our community that maybe didn't get recognized outside of North of Smoky, but just one of those moments I just celebrate being here. So, not that we have to go back in time all the time, but you have to understand that the Ivany Commission was a turning point in our province that looked at the economy and said, what do we need to do in this province? We're losing population. We've got to make something change here because we're losing ground. And what's interesting is after those 6 people who created the report, created 15 people that were in part given the responsibility, now what do we do? And those 15 people included First Nations, included the leaders of all 3 parties, some people from health, a lot of people from business, and they analyzed everything and they came out with the #1 investment that the province needs to make as the early years starting strong. From that, pre-primary began. So that was a good result of that. And from that, we now see childcare being $10 childcare from the federal government coming back, strengthening this early years, because more people are understanding that's the place where you're really going to make the difference. But it asked us to look at one other aspect, which is community developed pilots of what a welcoming place might be. So ask your citizens, what's welcoming feel like in Bay St. Lawrence? What's welcoming feel like in Iona? What's it feel like in Baddeck, in Middle River, in Marguerite? And use that to develop some pilots. And don't ignore the First Nations narrative of what they do, what they create that space that infants and elders are respected and belong. So from there, I'm just placing Raising the Villages and not in conflict with anything. We're an overarching. Our goal is to work towards creating these models in Bay St. Lawrence and Baddeck. But we started in 2016. Once that released, I was elected to council again. And so I'll use this next few years to explore what this might mean. A number of you were involved in that first few years where we just explored what the importance of this was. A lot of success has happened. What happened last year in July, after I was here in June, we created a co-op, a multi-sector co-op with representatives from across the region, including Richmond County, Port Hawkesbury, Inverness County, the First Nations of Wa'amakuk, Wagelma, and right here in Victoria County. And the reason we went for that is he said, why don't we become a multi-sector co-op? We're not selling anything. We're creating awareness and understanding and education about the importance of what we're doing. So we're advocating for policy. We're advocating for change so that we have the resources to run the places we really need and deserve. And who's involved? Well, you can see I sent some documents, Leanne, that we can share that just give background on who's sitting on the board so you can actually find out who it is. But we have Dr. Strait Regional Center for Education and Staff, Early Childhood Education, Jordan's Principal, Cape Breton Partnership. And really, it's just a diverse board of people that are committed to this working together to create this sort of momentum coming out of COVID that really does respect the ways that we need to come together and that what do our communities need. So what do we know about how our children are doing? Because Raising the Villages focuses on all citizens, but really starts at the beginning. We still know that poverty is probably around 25%. So 1 in 4 children and higher in some communities are still living in poverty. Of that, 1 in 3 children entering the school system are vulnerable social, emotionally in terms of how they interact with others, physically and how they developed, and cognitively how they can interact with what they have to do. So that's pretty unacceptable to me. It's pretty unacceptable in the Western world, and it's not a blame, as I said, every year. This is not blaming parents. This is the loss of that complex community that used to exist in our small communities in Iona. It doesn't matter where you are. Tarbet, Vale, it didn't matter. There was people at home and there was things going on that no one was left alone. And in that was the richness of the learning that everyone deserved. Oops, gone the wrong way. So what do we envision? So what's Raising the Villages talking about? So we want to move from this, which is patchwork and silos. Imagine how far someone goes for a service from here, Badek, and then multiply when you get up to Bay St. Lawrence. Imagine how far they're going for a service from Marguerite. To go see a pediatrician, to get speech and language, to get anything, we have to go away. Why don't we coordinate this and bring it to ourselves? Why don't we have the centers that really coordinate those services and those resources in one place so that we can find what we need in our communities? And it's not just services, it's also just finding each other. It's just knowing who's in our community. Who are the newcomers in our community? What's your baby look like? Can I hold them? Can we offer support to this? Because this isn't childcare. We're not talking about these centers being really kind of complex with childcare. And this is where Raising the Village fits in, is that middle level to advocate for what Bold looks like and Bay St. Lawrence needs so that we can get those resources in the community. So the province's policy or the federal policy can start to match what we need. So when I talk about what is this model starts prenatally and goes right through, and it's whatever you need in that community. But it connects seamlessly. So some of the work we've done in Bay St. Lawrence is we've helped create that room, just like this beautiful room, where now they can host a Raising the Villages space where the heat can be on in the winter. It's not costing them an arm and a leg. So we work with them in the Community Health Board to get their needs met. They could have done it directly. We just happened to be there at the right time and applied for the funding to support them. And we shaped that funding for what they needed. We weren't directing it. But so now you've got a space there that can really start to bring in the needs of the community together, from infants to elders. Why aren't our elders as welcome in our community spaces as our infants? And start to build that connection that so many people want and need. So then we'll talk about this reason we're doing this is upstream. So I'm going to touch a little bit on the science. So I'm going to just go into the science and then where we've come from this. So these welcome community spaces can reduce childhood poverty. At the moment, you're there. But longitudinally, that's where you start wiring the brain up for success. That's where you start to change the outcomes for populations and families, where you can really make a difference is at the beginning of life. We can also reduce mental health. Do we think mental health's gone up in our communities? The incidence or the adverse effects? There was just an Angus Reid poll that said it's up 56% when they polled Canadians across the country that feel that mental health is worse. We can deal with connecting to transit and local food if we have a place to go from and a place to go to. And I can be there for hours. We can strengthen the culture and language, whether you're a newcomer or Mi'kmaq or Gaelic or Acadian, by having those centers that are enriching the lives of people with a language-rich environment. We can create universal accessibility, like I said, to service. The services can start coming to us if we have coordination of those centers and we know our centers are connected. And finally, we're business readiness. I just want to hammer on this. If we're going to be open for business and be able to make this work, we have to have young families at the forefront, but we can't forget about anybody along the way. Do we want these centers to offer youth programming on the weekends? Yes. Do we want them to have pre-adolescent programming in the evenings? Yes. But we want to anchor that space so that it really does the heavy lifting that used to happen in every small farmhouse, where grandma was at home, the food was on the stove. It wasn't about money, was it? You were never impoverished in terms of what you needed that day. And I think we're going to see this kind of as that kind of building that link in the community that's gone in a new way that really supports it. So why the early years? I show this slide every year. I got 3 minutes left. Watch how fast I'm going to go. Just reminder that most of the developmental milestones happen before childcare. Before 18 months, you peak in your developmental wiring your brain. And it's okay. It's not something to be afraid of. It's something to be, wow, that's amazing what holding that baby's doing. And the fear response, I'm not going to spend time on this, but this is my daughter who came to live with us at 5 years old. And she said, Daddy, when someone sees a snake, they get scared and they run away. When a baby gets tired, scared, change diaper, they need a parent to come and get them. That's the difference in the way the brain reacts. When an infant doesn't get responded to longitudinally, you get this cortisol, the same thing that makes you jump when you see a snake, is released from the adrenal glands. Immediately, you get jumpy and sweaty. And this, if it goes on too long, a baby's sitting there crying in anxiety and pain, you get these things long-term. They show up at the school door. They show up later on in life. So there's direct signs on this that we need to not ignore. That's why the importance of grandma at home, the loving lap. That's how you, so there's all the science. I left you guys to get the slide deck. Go dig in there. My dad did this for like 20 years. All those studies are 25 years old that pointed directly to the importance of touch and the early part of the development of the brain, reducing vulnerabilities later on. It's all there, mental health. So we are solving one of the biggest issues of the time if we create these spaces without getting clinical, without hiring the professionals. And here's the numbers, because everyone wants the numbers. I got 1:56 left. So the Center for Addiction and Mental Health said it's costing us $51 billion a year right now in the losses for mental health. Just mental health. In Nova Scotia, $1.4 billion. In Victoria County, it'd be $9.8 million lost every year. What would it cost us to run a center in Bay St. Lawrence and Iona and Bedak and over in Middle River and maybe another one in Ingonish? At $150,000, because we're not staffing early childhood experts, we're staffing coordination of centers. It may cost us $600,000 to $800,000 a year, folks. And this is our dream, is to have these centers all over. And this county is at the forefront with the leadership you have. We're not there yet, but we're working on it. This network can support the more welcoming parts of our community that used to be around the corner in every home and every community hall. And we've lost more during this pandemic than anybody in the world, and near as I can tell, because we had so much that was just knowing each other day to day. Here's one thing we're working on, just to give you a cue how this works. Raising the Villages, I've sent this to you. Leanne has a copy. It should be in your inboxes. Check it out. Raising the Villages is mentioned over and over again in this policy that's going to the 4 Atlantic premiers in the next 6 months. They got federal funding to move this forward. And Raising the Villages is one of the models, thank you. Because we're working hard to build out the understanding of why we're investing in the early years from the beginning of life, not from childcare, not from moving the families away from each other, but bringing them back together. And this is next year. So expand the network. We have an infographic that's being developed, which will just tell us how we're doing in Victoria County and Inverness County. We're applying for multi-year funding through McConnell. We got some local gatherings in Wabamook, Margaree. We're hosting a spring workshop with the Atlantic Summer Institute and the pilot sites. And 1 second left. Doom. How's that? Not bad. Roller coaster. Anyways, really, Victoria County has been at the forefront. I've worked with the warden for years, and certainly with Paul and Perla and Fraser. We've been at this for a long time, whether it's setting up transit or working on local food and things like that. Norman, it's just an honor to be here with the leadership in this room. I just want to say that we've never backed away from an opportunity to be pioneering and innovating. So, finish with that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. We're going to open it to questions, Jim, and there are only 5 of us here tonight. So, and you're right. I think Councillor MacLeod was involved with Raising the Village early days when you first came into Victoria County. So, unfortunately, she's not with us tonight. So, perhaps Councillor Patterson, any questions, comments for Jim?
Thank you, Warden. Not so much a question, but I'd just like to congratulate Jim on the work he's done over the years and continues to do. Interestingly, last meeting, maybe before, we had a presentation from Bold. The last meeting we had whatever, anyway. And I noticed you had them as a pilot site. I think they're doing exactly the kind of work you're talking about. And we need a lot more of it. The other comment I guess I would like to make, it is surprising the number of younger people with children that are moving, I guess, to rural Cape Breton. They want a different lifestyle than they may have had before or whatever. And hopefully that'll bring our school numbers back up, so we won't be facing closure of schools and so on. But I think all the pieces kind of fit together, as you indicated, Jim. If they have the services they need, whether it's childcare or daycare or whatever, that will attract them to come to the rural areas, I think. So anyway, keep up the good work, Jim. Congratulations.
Thanks, President.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Councillor McDonald, any comments?
Yes, thank you, Warden. Good presentation, Jim. I know have been very passionate since the beginning, since 2016. I guess the only question I have is what do you find is the biggest obstacle or hurdle that's preventing, after 6 years, what's holding back raising the villages?
So I think it's the same thing as timing. So in 2014, early childhood wasn't even mentioned at the provincial government level until 2013, 2014. Everything takes time. But we're in a crisis right now, a mental health crisis. So how are you going to respond to it? Raising the Villages doesn't say we've got the solution, but by talking about this way of creating inclusive spaces from our infants to elders, and having that coordination, we can respond to what's needed in our community now, right now. So it's all about timing. If we gave up and said, oh, we couldn't get this done, there's no policy for this, but we did this on the backs of volunteers, myself included. I did it as municipal councilor. I'm volunteering now. We only have one half-time staff who's doing all the communication. But the commitment of the leadership around this gives me strength. When you look at the board, that we're in the right place at the right time. And when you look at the ASI, their policy brief, they've done a lot of digging at what models we can use. And I think we've got them developing in Bold and Bay St. Lawrence that will give us evidence in the next 4 years that then this becomes the model for the province. And it's different than everything else. So I just think, look, I don't give up. Been a foster parent for 25 years. No parent wanted to lose their kid. Nobody did. Was a counselor for 10 years. I think I worked hard, did Roots of the Empathy for 13 years, where we got an infant in the classroom. All of them taught me that there's a place to come back together. I came here 40 years ago. There was no question which home I went in that there wasn't someone there, food on the stove, grandma upstairs, grandfather upstairs, and people there. All that changed. So I'm not trying to go backwards. I'm trying to go forwards and bring that place to come together. And I've seen it in Bay St. Lawrence, and I've seen it when I come together. So we may not get there, but I'm not going to stop trying. And I think the timing is right. And this county particularly well positioned to get this policy right. So they're not worried so much about money over there in Bold and up at Bay St. Lawrence, so they can actually operate with the dignity and respect they need to do the work, which isn't a lot of money. But it's more than what we can afford at the municipal level, right? It's got to come from another pot of money. So I don't know if I answered that, Norm.
No, perfect.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Thank you, Jim. Councillor McNeil, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Warden, and thank you, Jim, for the presentation and your commitment to the project. It's good to see it's still underway after COVID, 2 years, and it looks to be getting stronger again. I know with the early childhood education course, a lot of people are moving home, like Councillor Patterson said. My daughter just moved home from out west, going to take the early childhood education course. So hopefully she'll get a job in the next few years and stay home too. And a lot of new families are moving into the area. And our former councillor, Councillor McGuinness, started a welcoming for newcomers coming into each community, and we tried to get that going, but COVID came in, and I know in April we're having a get together over at the Legion in Iona to welcome newcomers into the community. Nice. and everything. So hopefully this will start things up again with Raising the Villages too. So great work, and continue it. I hope you continue through the years. Thanks,
Paul.
Thank you, Councillor McNeil. Councillor Long, any questions or comments?
I just want to thank you for your presentation, and totally agree that we have to start with our little ones, and that's why I stole away this weekend or the last 2 days and went to Truro to visit my 4 grandchildren. We're all together in one spot. So nice. I went and spent a little bit of time there, which was great, but there are lots of new people moving into the neighborhood and lots of new, like in our community on the North Shore, it is a lot of elderly people, and it's really nice to see some younger people moving in because our school closed for lack of students, and there is some young people moving in. And what Paul was saying about the welcome network, there's a very welcoming, Victoria County is very welcoming, I think. There's a lot going on down on the North Shore with the Time Bank is continuing on with having a welcome network there. And COVID has been a challenge, but hopefully we can soon start having potluck suppers and things where that's where you meet people that have moved in. So thanks.
Yeah, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
So thanks, Jim, for your presentation. Just a comment from Victoria County. Your timing is very relevant for your inspiring message today. But Victoria County is one of only 2 municipalities outside HRM that's seen an increase in population in the last census for the province. So, we're starting to trend in the right direction, and certainly indications are that it is families between 30 and 50, the age group is starting to come back. So those are positive signs for us. So we're well positioned, as you say, to look at programs such as this. So we want to thank you very much again for your presentation this evening, and good luck as you move forward. And if you have any further requests or require any additional information, feel free to contact Leanne, and we'll go from there.
Will do. Thanks so much.
Thanks again. Good to see you, Jim.
Thank you. See you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of the evening. Enjoy the sunny sky.
Nice drive.
To the sunset. Yeah. So off of that. And I gotta admit, this is the nicest.
It's kind of unlike what you said today, Jim. You're trying to move forward. We moved back when we uncovered the ceiling. So, yeah. Thanks a lot. All right, we're going to move on to the next presentation of council tonight. We're fortunate to have Christy McCrae visit us tonight. And although it says Hannah Sis, it is Christy, I guess, that is presenting tonight. So good evening. Welcome to council. Most are familiar with Christy. She has presented several times on behalf of Theatre Baddeck. So we'll give you a minute or two to get settled there. So good evening and welcome to council. I think you know most of the councillors. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you all this evening. I'm prepared with old school tonight with a paper. Oh, I didn't. Yes. You'll see a green light.
I'm kicking it a bit old school tonight with a paper handout for everyone. So apologies to the online community. We'll just maybe hand it that way. If you want to just So yes, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak this evening. It is so good to be back in person. It's been 2 years since I've been here. I know Hannah Zis, my co-artistic producer, I think presented last year on Zoom, and she does send her regrets this evening. She's in Halifax, but I know she's out there listening right now. In fact, I'll open my phone in case she has comments she'd like to make while I speak for the next few minutes. I just want to spend a few minutes tonight recapping Theatre Baddeck's 2021 season. With some highlights, I'd like to discuss the 2022 season that we have planned coming up. of course, speak to our ask this year of Victoria County for support. And then, of course, be able to provide you fellas with a few minutes to ask questions about where we are now as a company, where we've come from, and where we're heading in terms of our place here in Victoria County. So to begin, delighted, of course, to report that we actually had a season in 2021. Perhaps that's the biggest success, is to say that we survived COVID, for at least what it's thrown at us so far. And it's perhaps odd to put as a key highlight, oh, I didn't press that, that our key highlights begins with the word no. But that being said, that we had no COVID-related cancellations or any complaints. We were so delighted to see our patrons return to us with such fervor and enthusiasm. And that was even with COVID protocols in place that could have been seen as quite daunting by both our own artists and staff, and of course our patrons, but everyone rose to the challenge magnificently. That's not to say that I don't hope fervently that we're not dealing with any of that this year, but we all know that we don't know what COVID has in store for us yet. So we did 3 productions in 2021, a smaller season. We employed 22 artists though, and we engaged 22 members of the local community for a very unique theater experience. And with that, I'm referring, of course, to our Charles Dickens production At Christmas Time. We projected attendance of just over 1,700, but we were delighted to see that we got actual attendance of over 2,000. We had 23 sold out performances. And of our limited capacity because of our COVID restrictions, we still managed to sell 88% of that capacity. So that was actually an astonishing figure for us. You don't normally ever plan for or budget for that high a level of capacity. So it was a tremendous turnout. And there was a point I remember during our September show where I felt like we were definitely the hottest ticket in town. It was almost painful because we don't want to turn anyone away. But night after night, we were really struggling to provide seats and opportunities for people to see our work. So that was all just terrific news after 2020, of course, where we weren't able to have a season at all. A few other highlights from the 2021 season was that we were fortunate enough to receive a federal grant of $100,000 for accessibility work to be done at the Masonic Hall, which I'm sure most of you know is our performance venue right now. So this is incredibly important funding to help in a space that needs ramps, accessible doors, and most importantly, accessible washrooms. And we know that this grant was provided to Theatre Bedeck based on our impact that our organization has on this community. And we look forward to being able to tap into funds like that, no matter where we're operating in the future as well. So even with COVID restrictions, we still found that 35% of our audience came from off island. And that meant that we had that many people coming to see our shows who were here spending more time in Victoria County. We continue to draw large groups. For example, we were delighted this past season to start to see groups of people coming together for the sole purpose of coming to see our shows. So hiring a bus, traveling up. There was a group of ladies, for instance, from New Glasgow area who came multiple times through the season to see all of our shows. In fact, would buy out the entire show because of the size of them. And those were absolute highlights for all of us to have these kinds of groups come. And this is the very thing that we want to continue to do and grow and build on here in this community. That is having those kinds of groups of people traveling a distance into Victoria County. They went out for lunch after, they spend at restaurants, they spend at shops. And for those who come for multiple days, of course, they're spending in hotels as well. Thanks to relief funding from all levels of government, we did not incur a deficit. And that was extremely good news for us. But all of the programs that we got from this relief will not be available to us this year, unfortunately. As you'll see from the handout, we had some tremendous response once again from patrons and also from people who were involved in our productions. And so I'll just highlight the local cast member quote here on your printout. And this was with regards to this person's involvement with our Christmas production, Charles Dickens Writes a Christmas Carol. So for those of you who might not be aware, this was our first community professional hybrid. That is, we had the core of the actors of this show were professionals, and then we rounded it out with 20 local residents who took part in this. And you'll just note the words there, but I'll highlight that this particular actor said that it was an extraordinary experience for them all to be able to work alongside professional actors and to learn from that experience. And it was just a really wonderful experience. It was everything that we had hoped for. And we do plan to bring that show back again this Christmas. In fact, I'll look forward to seeing some people in this room possibly coming out to take part in that production. I would welcome any of you to come on out and sign up. It was actually a great experience all around. So for 2022, as I say, we do plan to revive the staged reading of Charles Dickens Writes a Christmas Carol at Christmas time as a real community building experience. But backing up from that, 2022 will be our largest season to date. So we're coming back big and bold from the COVID restrictions that we've had. Our 2020 season that we had planned also is going to be 4 productions. So we're finally coming back and getting back on track with what we had always planned for, to jump back into the growth trajectory that we have been on. So the 4 shows that we have planned, and I'll just speak briefly to each of them. The first show that we have planned is called The Myth of the Ostrich. This is a Canadian comedy. It will be a Nova Scotian premiere. This story is the story of 3 women. It starts as a pleasant enough visit between Pam and Holly, 2 mums, meeting for the first time, but it quickly becomes a complicated, bizarre, and hilarious roller coaster ride of misunderstandings. And the mess and confusion of this precarious situation gets launched into orbit with the arrival of Holly's outrageous Cape Bretoner friend, Cheryl. And everything starts to fall apart from there. It's a really great East meets Western Canada story. And we think it's a really great fit for Theatre Bedeck and our patrons. Our second show is Lockie, Liza, and Rory by Sheldon Curry. This is a piece that is a very Cape Breton piece. I'm sure it's familiar to many of you. It's an all too human comedy of unrequited love in a small mining community in 1940s Cape Breton. The play only has 2 actors, but those 2 actors switch characters at a dizzying pace, and they play parents, siblings, children, priests, nuns, and a whole lot of other community people to weave this tale. It's about a warm and tightly knit family, some beautiful touching moments, and lots of comedy as well. Both of these pieces are going to be directed by Mary Colin Chisholm, who is known by most everyone in Nova Scotia, and we are delighted to have her. Our September show is our most ambitious production of the season, and it is a brand new work. It'll be a world premiere, and it's The Hydrofoil Mystery, which is a script that I have been working on for several years, and we've been workshopping it since early 2019. It was first brought together as a staged reading for the 100th anniversary of Bell's historic hydrofoil run. So we're delighted that we're finally bringing that to a full production, and that's going to run September, October. And it's going to be a play that is actually fun for the whole family. So not all of our pieces are all ages, but this one certainly will be. And we're delighted to have Ron Jenkins, a really well-known director from across Canada, but a Sydney-based director, and he'll be running with that. So we're delighted with that. And as I say, Charles Dickens will round out the season. So based on the enthusiasm that we had last year, and given our pre-pandemic trajectory, we're projecting attendance of about 3,600 patrons. And if our pre-pandemic visitor stats hold, 86% or just under 3,000 will be visitors to Victoria County, who, as I say, will spend in this area as part of their visit to the theatre. We've only had our season passes on sale since March the 3rd, and we have already reached over 67% of our season pass budget. So we have never generated this level of revenue in such a short amount of time. Again, just a very positive sign for us that people are keen and anxious to get back to experiencing live theater. As our season pass holders come from across this province, right? So Halifax, Dartmouth, Truro, Antigonish, Sydney. And what we find is that those patrons are traveling multiple times to visit us and then are seeing shows and spending time here. I think you're hearing the theme of what I'm getting at, which is how Theatre Bedeque will continue to be a really important source of the regeneration of the tourism industry here in Bedeque. And this is what we want. And this is what we truly believe we're going to be able to achieve. It started last summer, we know that, and we only think it's going to grow for this summer coming up. So because we think that we have this important role to play in the ongoing tourism recovery of this county, primarily due to our draw from across the island and mainland Nova Scotia, we just want to highlight again how important it is for businesses like Theatre Bedeque to exist and thrive in this area. We have the oft-cited stat that for every $1 spent on a theatre ticket, more than $7 gets spent in the local economy. And that's actually quoting a study that is now quite a few years old. So I suspect it's actually a significantly higher figure than that now. However, we do continue to be in a quite precarious position funding-wise. At best, and as always, ticket revenue only covers about 50% of our expenses. And again, compared with many other theaters, that is actually a significantly higher proportion of our expenses covered by earned revenue. And the rest comes from private sector, sponsorship and donation, and the public sector, that being, of course, government money. And all of our provincial and federal funds are project-based, unfortunately, and this is what is our funding insecurity. I have to say that for a theater company of our stature, even though we're only going into our 7th season, but for an award-winning theater company that is sought after by professional artists, they want to come and work with us. And for the kinds of reviews and the high caliber of what we're achieving in our work, most companies like now would be receiving some element of operational funding. That means funding that we would be given year over year, that we would not have to seek project-based funding and go back every single year. But, and I know we have said this before council in past presentations, we have been approved for operational funding from the provincial government, but that pot is dry. And there is no new operational funds available, and that has been this case now for many years. It's recognized across the performing arts industry as a serious issue, and we continue to work and advocate and lobby for that change to happen at the provincial level. But this is really at the heart of our insecurity in terms of funding. When we have to take the time every single year to go back to every single funder, whether it's private or public, and have no security of knowing whether we have funds every year, this puts us in a precarious position, and it actually fetters our ability to grow. That's answering the question you had for the previous presentation. I'm answering yours already in case you have it for us now. What is our greatest challenge? And that's what it is. And so it's the lack of that increase is a huge problem. And unfortunately, we don't see it going away anytime soon. And this is why, once again, I come before council and say that yes, our ask of council in terms of support will be $10,000 this year. If there is any way that council could also secure the funding, not actually provide it, but secure the knowledge that that funding would cover, would come again in a second year, as in 2023, that would go a long way for us to be able to make plans to grow into what it is that we want to be. Right now, we're just, it would be wrong to say limping along. We're doing so much better than that, but that not knowing and the time and energy that has to be spent every year takes away from resources that we could be seeking funding from other private sources, from other foundations, from new sources, from new businesses, from new sponsorships. It all comes down to time, which is a very precious resource for us. Mostly why I came tonight, though, was to thank Victoria County for your ongoing generosity, for the support you provided last year. We can't thank you enough. We couldn't have done the season without you. We look forward to the application that we put in again this year. And I open the floor now for any questions you might have about us and our future. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Great information. Christy, appreciate it. And we are going to open it to questions and comments. And so I'm going to start with Councillor Longba. If you have any questions or comments for Christy?
Christy, you're a wonderful actress. I've seen lots of your productions, and I went to see the Dickens one at Christmas, and it was awesome to see so many local faces in the audience as well as the professionals. I think it's a really important thing to have in the community as a theater group and entertainment. It's great for mental health, and thank you for your presentation. You did very well in your role tonight as well.
I prefer having a lot of rehearsal time in a script, but anyway.
Well, I look forward to seeing the productions this year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McNeil, any questions or comments, please?
Thank you, Warden, and thank you, Christy, for the presentation. And congratulations on your success last year. Unfortunately, again, I never got to see any of the productions, but hopefully this year I will.
This will be the year.
Yeah, exactly.
I can feel it.
Exactly. But through COVID, that's really impressive, the numbers. And you're a great asset to the county, bringing people in not only from away from outside Victoria County, but off the island too. And again, like I mentioned the last few years, it would be nice to see an off-site production once at least every year, like throughout, like maybe one show in a different location every year. It would be nice to see.
And I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that what prevents us from making those kinds of plans is everything that I've talked about here tonight, that we are doing the absolute best right now with the resources that we have, both in terms of human capital, but also in terms of funding. And of course, our human capital is fettered by our funding, right? So they're tied intricately together. But our plans are to be that big. Our plans were always to be, a festival of plays. Right now, we operate out of the Masonic Hall, and we're delighted to be there. And the Masons have been very good to us. And we have plans to see how much we can grow in that space. But we know that eventually we will outgrow that space. We have to, because that's the kind of growth trajectory that we're on, but it's also the growth trajectory we need to be on. And so we see ourselves ultimately, Theatre Bedeck, being that there are shows happening at this venue, that there are shows happening at that venue, and there are shows happening at another venue. And you're right, the sky's the limit. That other venue could be another place in Victoria County, or a touring show. We have shows that we think could tour very well. We just need the resources to make that kind of thing happen.
Like even one show a year throughout Victoria.
Yep. And our plan, of course, is to, right now we continue to operate sort of July to mid-October, but we do want to be an organization that is operating 365 days a year. And so some of those other shows that you're talking about may not necessarily fall in the prime tourism season of July through September, especially. But we have all those other months of the year when we could be taking some of our those shows on tour, or new productions, or different productions, right? Yeah, our list of things we want to do, and I haven't even talked about education programs, not only for youth, but for adults. Charles Dickens was a bit of that, because people learned so much from the experience, and that's one way. But there are so many other programs that, and easily traveled to other places programming. Yeah.
Thank you. Good luck.
Councillor McDonald.
Yes, thank you, Warden. Thank you, Christy. Great presentation. Your enthusiasm is always very warming and welcoming. And when you mentioned about look for cast members, I heard that Warden Morrison, when put in front of the crowd, he's actually pretty good at acting. So
I'll be waiting. I'll be sending an audition notice just to him.
Yeah, but it's great to hear that you had the funding from the federal in place to help alleviate some of the cost, and it's good that you survived.
Yes.
Through COVID and that, and gonna have to try and make a trip up from Cape North to see one of your shows. Keep up the good work, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Patterson, any comments or questions?
Thank you, Warden. It's nice to see two presentations from people who have so much passion of what they're doing, because you obviously have it for the theater. Jim Mustard had it for his project. And I think Jim kind of summed it up in his presentation. We're not going to stop. Like he said, we're going to keep going. So I think you're going to do that too. Anyway, congratulations on surviving COVID, I guess, first of all. And the lineup you have looks impressive. How much is the season pass?
How much is the season pass?
Yeah.
See, now that's where Hannah will jump in right now and say, right now they're on sale for. So like any good theater ticketing, right? What we do is the price changes depending on when they're available.
Oh, okay.
So let me tell you that right now is when you want to be jumping in there and grabbing
Yep.
your season pass.
Okay, good.
Because they're only like on sale. And this is where there's nothing better than having a co-artistic producer with an MBA and a bent in marketing and all that, in addition to an acting degree. She is the perfect package for all this sort of thing. So this is Hannah's department as to what they're currently costing. I ought to know the answer to your question, but I can only tell you that if you want to get your season pass at the best possible price,
So you're the
you
vice
want to
president.
go on tonight.
You're the vice president of sales too.
Anyway,
Anyway,
I have my we have a great division of labor, and we
Yeah.
each have areas that we manage based on our skill set, and
And
that's not mine.
just looking into the future, if you continue the way you're going and expanding and growing, Warden, we may have to consider changing Shabukto Street to Broadway too, because you may have a thriving industry, which they have in New York, of course. So anyway, congratulations. Keep up the good
thank
work.
you.
Looking forward to it. Hope to be able to make, depending on the price of a season pass, make
Yeah.
2 of your productions anyway. Thank you.
Well, I do think that we have every possibility of being the Broadway of Cape Breton Island, and I don't say that too facetiously. I really don't. I think that Theatre Bedeck is a success story in this county, and Victoria County should be so proud that this organization exists here and continues to thrive and grow the way that it does. We are the only fully professional theater company in Cape Breton Island, and we're right here in this county.
So I'll just mention, I've received the emails related to this on the season passes, and they are very reasonably priced. So it's a great price for an evening out.
Thank you. Yeah. And we do that on purpose, to be honest. Eventually, of course, with the price of living and all that, like, things will have to rise eventually, in like small, but we do that in order for this island, across the whole spectrum, the whole socioeconomic spectrum of this island, to make this an affordable experience for people.
So I want to thank you for your presentation, and just a couple of comments, as somebody who lives in Bedeck and sees firsthand what you've added to the community, both from a tourism perspective, from an artistic, from the acting. It's just phenomenal. You come back year after year and it just keeps getting better and better. And when you included the community in the Dickens, I hear lots, as everybody does in this community, and that was phenomenal. I mean, it was a phenomenal success from the people that went to see it, but it was a phenomenal success from including from the locals. So kudos for that. And as far as, when you make your application for the 10,000, I think in all fairness, you've proven yourself. You got a fantastic track record. You've, exceeded, and I think sitting back here 6 or 7 years ago when you started out, you certainly exceeded expectations for what could happen in the community with what you've been doing. So I think when you put your application in, ask for a multi-year request, because in fairness to you, I mean, it's been a great investment for us to invest in you because of the successes you've had. So I think at this particular point, like I would put in for a 2 or 3 year request, because it's great to hear the success you had, but we're at a point now that you can build on that. You've built on that success, and then really, I'm not sure that you need to come back every year. So I think when you come in and we have an opportunity to review your request, if you put a multi-year request in, we'll certainly take a look at it seriously, and better for you for what you do, and better for us as well. So you don't have to convince us anymore. I can only speak for myself, but I absolutely am very supportive of it as particularly the councillor for Badet. There's no question what you've brought in. And 2/3 of the people that are coming here are not locals, they're from away. So there's just so many added benefits. And just as a sidelight, I was part of a conversation that the group from New Glasgow had called a location where I was at, and they were looking for accommodations and they were looking for meals for X number of people. So I mean, that's what you bring and that's what we need. So it's all very, very positive. So the request is for $10,000. We obviously want to make a decision tonight. We will be going into budget deliberations in the next 4 weeks or so. So we will probably defer your request, as you know, to those deliberations. So we would need that request tonight from council. So could we have a motion to that effect, please?
That we move the request to budget deliberation.
Thank you, Councillor McNeil. Do we have a second for that, please? Seconded by Councillor Longba. All in favor? Any opposed? So moved. And I very suspect that the councillors that aren't here as well are very supportive of the initiative as well. And
Just one
Yeah,
comment,
sure.
if you do get a multi-year request, we still would like an update every year. So to come back.
Happy
about the
to do
project.
that, sure.
no, and it's a great, just what you bring us. It's just so positive, as Councillor Patterson says. It's just remarkable what you've done. I know it's a lot of hard work and it's not easy work, and you've got another season ahead, and there's a lot of work to get up and running. So we recognize and appreciate the amount of time and effort that you put in.
Thank
So-
you. Thanks so much.
All right, so thank you and we appreciate your time, and we're going to move on to the next item in council. Once I find my.
Hannah had to text to tell you that they're on sale till April 30th, the season passes.
You might check for Councillor Patterson if she has a seniors rate. So you might be-
Well, I think as has been indicated, our season pass pricing is so good that I don't think it really matters.
It's attractive to seniors as
And
well.
they're going fast, so I'd get them quicker sooner rather than later. Councillor Patterson.
We look forward to seeing you all this summer.
So
Thank you.
Good
Thanks very
luck
much.
on another successful season, really.
Thank you.
Well done. So we have a recess set at 6:15. So I'd like to go over the minutes for our council meeting of February 28th. They've been circulated to you. Were there any errors or omissions in those minutes? Actually, I did ask you. So- But you circulated a white paper today so that, so I think, are you okay with continuing on with that? Are you okay with continuing on developing the policy? Yes. Okay, perfect. Just a reminder for Counselor that press your mic when you're speaking. Yeah. All right. So do we have a motion to accept if there are no errors or omissions? Do we have a motion to accept the approve the minutes from February 28th, 2020?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Counselor Longwood. Do we have a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Warden.
Second by Counselor McDonald. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion's carried. The minutes are approved. So we will go into old business. Would you like to comment on your policy at this time, sir? Your mic on. Yes, please.
I'm going to start in the middle as usual. And Leanne, I noticed you had in your report the cell phone funding, whatever it exists of. I couldn't get any concrete information on it. I did reach out to someone, one of the board members at the FCM from Saskatchewan. And she actually chaired this meeting, I think where it was said. She was going to get back to me. So I don't know the status. I did look, interestingly enough, there was one that was specified for Northern Ontario. So I don't know if that goes further than that or not. I can't say for sure. Anyway, back to what the warden introduced and wanted me to look at. I presented this or prepared this, and I think I sent it to everyone this morning. And it's strictly just a policy document on the issue with some questions and discussion points probably. And I just took the minutes from last meeting in the first part and to bring a draft policy to bring it to council. I don't think we're that far yet. I think we're just in the discussion stage of what we may or may not want to do. So I've just taken a couple of things from the Municipal Government Act, and I've highlighted in red there, meetings of committees appointed by council are open to the public. And it leaves it at that. Then I took a clip from a CBC report from Richmond County, and they basically say the same thing. They had consulted their lawyer about this, and it does not provide specific guidance on committees. In the email, the lawyer didn't clarify what a committee of council was because the MGA is not very clear on it. And then there's no mention of minutes of committees have to be posted publicly in the MGA. And then the warden's comment is next there. You can read that. And she, it's not quite clear if she's talking about the minutes or the meeting's been open to the public. So that's kind of a gray area too. Anyway, I did do kind of a little scan, and I produced CBRN's postings. Their Accessibility Advisory Committee minutes are there. Active Transportation, Affirmative Action. Now, we don't have some of these, but Audit Committee, Boundary Review, that's a little different, of course. They have one of them on the charter. But the point, I guess, is Heritage Advisory Committee. The point is other municipalities are posting minutes of committees. And then Wolfville down below, the Accessibility Advisory Committee, the Audit Committee, and the Planning Advisory Committee. They're posted on their website. One that really confused me, it had committee council. So I thought, oh, that's great. And it was a big list of them. I figured that's great because they must post all of their committees. Turned out they don't use the term committee of the whole. They use the term committee council. It took me a while to figure that out, what they were doing, because, you know, it's kind of confusing when you see committee council. I just assumed that's what it would be. Then I took our committees that were sent to me, and I arbitrarily, to some degree, but I had some reasoning behind this. The ones in red, I think, are committees of council, because we as council set them up for a particular reason, whether it's accessibility or the Public Works Committee, economic development, housing, broadband, planning advisory. We set those up to provide information to council or discuss items or whatever. The next group that are in black, the Library Board, PDPA Committee, Alderwood, Highland Manor, CP, Federation of Agriculture, Management Board, and Home Support. In my mind, all of those committees are committees that serve a different purpose that just happen to have councillors on them. So that's the distinction I make in my mind. Now, you know, we can discuss it for sure. So I would have like the Age Vending Committee, Senior Safety Committee, Transit Committee, and the Audit Committee and Budget Committee as our committees. Well, the Bloor Lake Reserve is not really our committee. We just send someone to that. So I just items for further discussion, and maybe we can just run through these and then open it up and see what people think. Should committee minutes be posted on our website? There's no requirement for it, but sometimes maybe we should go beyond the requirements. Which committee minutes? And that's what I'm suggesting in that previous page, that those are the ones we would post if we post. That's what I said suggesting the ones that did. And then mechanics, how should they be approved? Who will post them, et cetera. The issue of how they're approved was interesting because usually, I'll take the age-friendly committee, for example, met in December and we haven't met since. So that's 4 or 5 months. So would you wait 4 or 5 months before they're approved at that committee before you would post them? Robert's Rules of Order has an interesting section in it for exactly that situation, where there's an extended period of time, or a committee may be just formed and never meet again. You know, it's possible. They suggest, and I didn't copy it here, but I will later on. They suggest an executive committee, I think they call it, would have the power to approve those minutes and then bring them to, you know, allow them to be posted. I'll get more details on that because I didn't want to get ahead of ourselves either. I mean, we don't want to get into too much of the mechanics till we decide what we're going to do. So anyway, thank you, Warden.
Thank you. Thank you for doing the work and that good work. And just a couple of quick comments before we open it up. I just want to make it very clear that our minutes from any council or committees of council are available to anybody right now. They just have to request those minutes. So it's not, although they're not posted, they are available to whoever may want to have a copy or to read them. So the second point I just want to make, and I agree with you, Fraser, and I'll open it to comments from other councillors. The ones in red that you do have, I absolutely agree with you. It's just committees of council, not committees that you were assigned to necessarily from council. The only two that I don't see that are in red, Councillor Patterson, are Highland Manor and Alderwood. Now, we are responsible for both those facilities, but do you... So we can just leave them. I don't know. Yeah, no, and can I leave that with you to follow up why they?
The microphone.
Again, though, I would see that though, Warden, as again, now it's in the bylaws. It's a little different than other committees because it is in the bylaws that the 5 councillors from Southern Victoria serve on the board of directors. But again, I see that as kind of Alderwood's business. It's not really our business.
Well, Alderwood is your business because you own it 100%. So ownership of Alderwood is owned by the municipality.
Yeah.
So
and that's why we include the financial information in our information.
Exactly.
So again, we'll have to find out more information.
And that's where the conversation is going, or I made the comment. We'll leave it. We'll have to look into that a little further. You know, it speaks to the reason why we need a policy, what's in, what's out, what ones are going to be posted. So and the other issue, I think, Councillor, is when you have the meeting, and in my opinion, the meetings are public or open to the public. So the minutes, in my opinion, are available once the meeting is over.
And I think that's where the discussion comes in. It says open to the public, and that's why I put it in red. The discussion comes in, does open to the public also mean the minutes are public?
Right.
You know, council we know is, but it's not clear if committee minutes are can be made public, I guess, or whatever you want to say.
Exactly.
But you know, my way of thinking, and I think, Norman, you had a request a couple of meetings ago, you mentioned this. Someone was wondering about the minutes of committees. Yeah, okay. And you know, just in open, I think I mentioned in here, in the spirit of openness and transparency, you know, give the people the information. Maybe no one will look at it. We don't know, but at least we're providing the information there, and they can do what they want with it, I guess.
Yep. No, and I agree, Fraser. It's you know, we're not opposed to posting them as long as we are posting legally and posting correctly. So I think if I'm just going to ask if any of the other counselors or Leanne may have any questions before. I think I know where this one is going, but do you have any questions or comments?
No, just one comment. Like even the committees that are in black, I know right now on the municipal rep on the SEPI committee for all of Cape Breton Island. And it's hard to distribute the minutes, well, to let other councillors know what's going on SEPI. So maybe that would be a good way, like to post SEPI's minutes on our website too, and other municipal councillors can go there and get the minutes from that way.
Yeah, that would
they
be
don't have a great they're not great at distributing the minutes any other way, so maybe that's a way to do.
And that would be a decision of the organization, but if they were willing to allow us to post them, we can post them. So did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, we're just one.
I think it comes down to the
I think I
procedure.
heard what Paul said.
Procedure.
You know, that is my definition. You sit on that committee, but that committee is not really responsible to council, but you are on the committee to report back to council of what's going on. So that to me is a difference than a committee of what we would call the ones that haven't read committees of council. The council actually takes their work and take recommendations from those committees or whatever we want to call them and acts on them. Whereas yours, and then I guess Alderwood and the Manor, Highland Manor, are kind of in a gray area, right? They're really, because it's legislated that we form basically the board of directors. So that's, you know, and as Leanne pointed out, there is some liability, I guess.
Ownership.
Whatever, you know.
So Councillor Long, any questions or comments, please?
Yeah, do we own Highland Manor too?
Yes,
So we own Alderwood and Highland Manor?
yes.
Okay. And I wondered about if, when we're at a board meeting, I mean, obviously there's things that get discussed at board meetings that aren't public as, that would be in camera, like staffing or things that are private. Yeah, I wondered if we owned that or not. Yeah. So that would just be an in-camera thing, I
Yes,
suppose. That
and-
wouldn't be in the regular minutes, the same as with council.
Exactly, and we got to kind of sift through this, as Councillor Patterson says. We're going to have to take a second cut through this to pare it down to see how to deal with these ones that are not necessarily committees that council created, but it's different with those two facilities because we own them, so it's an ownership issue as opposed to something we created. So.
I guess
So-
if it's like there was things talked about at board meetings, if they're not said to be in camera, then I would assume it's public knowledge. Because I've said things from board meetings and then it's like, oh, am I supposed to know that? And it's like, well, I didn't think it was a secret.
Yeah, and like we're going to have to kind of take a look and see just how much of this information would be released for some of these committees. For most committees of council, there is the issues that are not open to the public would be recognized as in camera and they would be captured in the minutes anyway. So, but with the two other organizations, we are responsible for them. They are under our jurisdiction, both Alderwood and Highland Manor. So we're gonna have to kind of take a second look at that. And I think we'll have further discussion on this. But I think tonight what we're looking for is their agreement that the ones in red, for example, are ones that we would first consider as committees of council to allow those minutes to become public once we establish a policy to release those to a public process. They're available to the public now. They just have to call and make a request, but we'll still have to have a policy about releasing that information publicly on our website if that's the direction that we want to go.
So
Right.
just maybe to close, we do have the motion from the last meeting to formulate or make a committee minutes policy. So that still stands as far as we know. We haven't rescinded or anything.
No,
So I'll continue then to kind of
yeah,
smooth this out a bit and get more succinct, probably at some of the two, where they may be a
Yeah.
bit long or whatever.
exactly. And I think what we need is a written policy. A
Just,
short
and I
written
thought too, it's interesting, I didn't see any municipalities that had a policy on it,
policy.
even the ones that post them.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of
So perhaps we can check them.
I think Richmond's leading the way on this, so.
And they may find somebody that we can check with them to see.
Yeah,
if,
yeah.
Now, just before I leave it, I didn't get to Councillor McDonald, but did you have any questions or comments about these?
No, just, it's a good thing that Councillor Patterson brought this up. I do like the way that the CBRM has their site laid out. I think it would alleviate too from constituents calling their councillor asking if it is available there. So it's something we definitely have to look into.
Yep. And I do agree, if we can find a similar policy, bring it back. If everybody is satisfied with it, we'll edit it and make sure it comes through council for approval, and then we'll release the committee minutes at that time once we approve the policy. But we can't post those minutes until we have a policy indicating that there's a process to do it. In the meantime, anybody that wants minutes from those meetings can contact Leanne or Steph or whoever is going to be responsible for those minutes and provide the copies as requested. So we good with that? Thank you for that, Councillor Patterson, and we look forward to when we find, if you can bring back a policy as you refine it and define it. So any other old business to come through council from the minutes of February 28th, please? Councillor McLeod is not here tonight. She sent me an email asking me if there was any updates on the school bus. Have you heard anything from the school board in regards to the spare drivers, et cetera, et cetera? Have any correspondence?
I did, and I forwarded on the correspondence that we received. They are looking to, they will come to council. They said that they are training, they're still training staff, and they didn't give another timeline on when they would be ready to go. So I didn't really receive any more information, because 3 weeks ago, they said there was at least one driver who was going to take 3 weeks. And after 3 weeks, I contacted them and they said they're still training. So.
Okay, great. Yes, sir, Councillor McDonald.
I just wondered too, with the school board for the issue I brought forth with Susan, I've never received any correspondence. I don't know if they took it up with TIR for the line of sight. Was one issue, and the other one was with the mechanic for North, because just this past week, one of the buses in my district was 1 hour and 35 minutes delayed due to a mechanical issue. So there are things I really would hope that she's gonna.
Okay, I'll check with
Come
her
back to us
again on
soon.
those. Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, so I will, I checked on the status of the school bus drivers, but I didn't really get more of an answer. So they're still in training.
Okay, thank you. Any other old business come? And Leanne, do you have some?
Yeah, I just have two things. One was that we made the Ukraine donation. It's been made and matched. And also Councillor Patterson had a question in the past about RCMP increases. And we heard today that based on the plan that we're under, there's going to be an 11.05% increase, not including retro pay. So.
You got communication from the federal?
I didn't get it from the federal government. I got it from a provincial level
Public
who had
Canada,
heard on that. Yes. So they sent that out.
And then did they mention that invoices are supposed to be sent out in May?
And it didn't say anything about that. Those
was the
that are
second
under
part,
the MPSA program have already received theirs. They didn't tell us when we would get ours, but they said 11.5% increase, not including retro.
Any other old business?
Did you figure out dollar wise? Yeah, what that would be?
So that's about, just off the top of my head, that's 200,000,
Roughly 200,000,
230,000.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So that dispenses with old business and business arising. So we are going to take a 15-minute recess. It is 6:25. We'll reconvene at 6:40. Thank you. So council has been reconvened, and the next item on the agenda is the CAO's report and new business. So we'll turn it over to the CAO for her report, please.
Great, thanks. So we had department head meetings. I'm going to give you some details on what staff are up to. So in the finance department, just a reminder to everyone that anyone that is applying for a grant of any type, it's due March 31st. So that's for property taxes or operating or development or capital, any type of grant or funding that is being requested. March 31st deadline on that. In recreation and active living, Lydia's department. Lydia has been working on getting an active transit grant proposal ready to send in on trail development. She has submitted her recreation grant report related to the last prior year to get ready for this year's. There will be a placemaking community engagement session happening in Cape North on March 16th, which is Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. She attended the, March 24th, you're right. Sorry, I would have picked up on that afterwards. It is, that's what's on the poster, March 24th. Sorry, March 24th at 6:30. There's something happening March 16th. Yes, I know what it is, the next one. She has been active on the accessibility committee. We met this week and she's putting together a survey for the accessibility committee to get some questions out there to see if there's some things we can do related to our accessibility committee. And she set up an ACAP meeting, which I think Bruce is going to talk about in a little bit. And there's some initiatives that could be coming forward from that. So next we have economic development. So we're in economic development department with Erica. She's working on a business plan with the RINC department, or with the RINC right now. Her housing survey in the Ingonish area is closed. She is analyzing the data. There's actually 17 businesses that she's talking to right now about the AIP, the Atlantic Immigration Program, which is great. She's going to a conference in BC focused on property development and retail, and working on some other projects with some other provincial departments. Dan and tourism. So Dan attended some multi-skilled training for employees to help with the labor shortage. So there's a real labor shortage in the tourism department, tourism industry this time of year. Am I on? Maybe I'm not on. Am I on? I don't think I'm on. Thank you. Thank you. We can't hear them. Never mind. That's right. There's a bit change out on this. Okay, so that's fine. He's also attended a meeting with Destination Cape Breton regarding this year in Cape Breton having a waterfowl season. So there'll be some more details coming out with that, but promoting waterfowls in the area and around the island. He also attended a virtual Innovate the Plate conference, which is a culinary conference. And Tourism Nova Scotia has launched their new campaign for 2022. So you might see some things, some new ads on TV for anybody that watches TV or on your social media feeds. He's also done a waterfront BDAC update meeting. They're going to be doing a community update related to that in May, and it's a good segue for a couple of other community master plans that we're looking to take part in. And earlier today, there was a trail update that was sent out to all of you to give you an update on trail development that we're working on. He had some good news that the ACOA funding that was applied for last in 2021 for a bunch of community organizations, a lot has been awarded. So that's good news for not-for-profits in the area. In our public works department. So one thing Barb, you had brought up, putting in a request to see if the dredging material could be taken to our transfer station. Unfortunately, our license doesn't give us the ability to take that because I believe it has something to do with the metals that is in that material that's coming. So our license doesn't allow us to take that. So we'll have to look at some other, they'll have to look at some other solutions. And that wasn't actually one in the letter that they sent back today either, that they weren't really willing to ship it that far either. So unfortunately, we're not able to take that dredging material at our contaminated site on our transfer station. We're also preparing a couple of tenders for some public works buildings upgrades here in Bedeque and in Neils Harbor and Dingwall. Our water treatment plant in Neils Harbor is being commissioned this week. So the water operator is being trained on that second filter that's there and getting trained on the new generator that is in place at that. And we are talking with Neptune on getting some quotes for replacing the water meters that are at all the utilities that we have to see if we can have a way to have them read wirelessly rather than have someone go around to them. In senior safety says that the Uncommon Room project is going ahead and the seniors are really happy with the progress that's being made there. Also, Victoria County Home Support, which partnered up with Senior Safety, they've received a grant for Canada Day. They didn't get as much as they wanted, but they've got some funding and they're looking for some creative ways on spending it. So if anyone has any ideas on what to do with a Canada Day grant for seniors, contact our Senior Safety Officer, Cassandra. And we received word that we received a full grant for Acting Collectively proposal that we put in. So, which was good news. A couple of other things that have been happening. We are in the process of doing a regional EMO exercise plan. So a tabletop, which is just going to involve provincial EMO and some of our staff who would be involved in any type of EMO. So Mr. Donovan, our fire services, EMO, EMO coordinator, our emergency, everything. He's going to be very involved in this. Several staff here, we did a best practice mission related to the trail system and development of our trail system. And we did a snowmobile day and we did this last week, 2 weeks ago, and had a great trip. The snowmobile groups are very active and very interested in doing the best to make their experience and our experience and everyone's experience the best it can be. And it was really eye-opening and great to see. There was a lot of good work done. We had met with Nick Charlton from JS Held. He was here last week to talk about the courthouse assessment and the next steps to go forward with something related to that. We have decided, council has decided that we'd like to have a drone take pictures of the building to see if get a more of an inside the walls look at the building that we're currently in. I'm going to be getting next steps on that. I also attended a labor lawyer session on COVID vaccine policy. And I think we as a council, you as a council have passed a COVID vaccination policy. And I think we need to look at what we're planning on doing, if we're planning on keeping that in place or if we're going to repeal it. So it's something that I'd like you to think about for the next council session. There was also some talk on councils that were concerned with the price of gas, and the rising gas prices because of things, and talking about looking at writing a letter to the province to talk about taking the tax off of some of the gas. It's happened in a couple of municipalities, so it might be something that you're interested in looking at as well. Last thing, we are looking to do an asset management grant. So we did one in the past on the linear assets that we have. Now we're looking to see if we can get funding for the actual infrastructure outside of the linear ones. There's some funding that's available through the FCM. They are advising to get the funding application in sooner rather than later. If we decide to put $12,500 in, we can get funding for up to $50,000. So it's a good investment. We got a lot of good information from our last one that we did, and we'd be working with the same group that we did in the past. So I'm wondering if council would be open to that or interested in that, because it is a worthwhile project. It's something that we need to do. So if you are interested, I have a resolution, if you'd be interested in speaking about it or talking about it.
So that's recommendation from CAO. It's a good investment. The draft resolution would read as follows: be it resolved that the municipality of County Victoria directs staff to apply for a grant opportunity from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities for Asset Management Program for the development of asset program inventory prioritization and strategy. Be it therefore resolved the municipality commits to conducting the following activities in its proposal. Dollars from its budget toward the cost of this initiative. And this resolution needs a signature, official seal, or resolution number, date passed, confirmation that the resolution be passed. So that is the recommendation from the CAO. That is a draft resolution. Is there a decision to move forward on this?
I make a motion that we go forward with the resolution that was just read.
Thank you.
Second that, Warden.
Aye.
So you can proceed with the application.
Great, thanks very much. And that is all that I have.
Any questions for the CAO this evening in regards to her report? Yes, please, Councilor.
Yeah, in regard to the dredging, I had brought it up, but not at a meeting, I think not publicly. But is it possible that the county would, if DFO was willing to trade property and not use the ocean frontage, like the piece of property there that they have bought already is ocean frontage across from the Rec Cove store? Could that piece not be used like for something like a park that would benefit the community, or some other like community thing rather than a dredging site, and maybe use another property that's not as prime a property, like trade it? Is that something that is possible?
I'll refer that question to CAO, please.
Well, actually, that is referred to council, I believe, because if it's a real estate question, and it would be up to you if you're willing to give up land for another piece of land. I'm assuming we get the other, or make an application to get the other piece of land.
Yes, because the county owns over 100 acres, I believe, in Rear Little River, which is like right beside where the wharf is. It would be like really close transportation wise. And then the other piece would be more of a prime real estate really to own.
So in essence, the question is, would we provide land to put the
Are you-
dredging from?
Yeah, are you interested to give up some of your land? Because we talked about those land pieces. I think the ones you're referring to, we talked at that, at a land meeting that we did have. And it was land that we were going to keep for something. We were planning on keeping it for something. So this could possibly be a use of that. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of it there.
So I wonder how much, do you have any idea what size should be, how much? it would
The
need to-
acreage of the other piece.
Well, I'm wondering how much would the dredging, how much the spoils from the dredging are, how much
Would they
area?
need? Yeah, how much would they, need? So the area of the property that they have now, do you know what that is?
I'm not sure. I would have a rough guesstimate that it's under 10 acres.
Yeah, I'm just thinking from the point of view we'd only be utilizing 10 of 100 acres that we have. So does that seem like a reasonable request for the CAO to pursue that agreement or arrangement with the federal government or the province of Nova Scotia, who is ever responsible? And it's an isolated area that it's a rear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where the property that we have, yes.
Yeah. We can look into that if you want. The only thing I'll caution you, and I'm not sure if the CAO mentioned it earlier, I'm switching back in microphones here. Like it's a slow process, so I don't know if it would fit in the same time that they're dredging by the time we would be able to get that approval. But we can certainly start making the inquiries this week.
Yes, sure.
Yes, sir.
I just know from the past of dredging in McKinnon's Harbor too, for the license to dredge, they have a specific area that they away from the site that was dredged that they want to put the material. So I don't know whether that's involved in this case or not. It has to do with the settling of everything going back into the environment and everything. So they might not be able to do it. But I know that has happened in the past at McKinnon's Harbor.
Yeah.
I mean, the sites are kilometers apart, like from where Little River is to where Little River is. It would be like maybe 4 kilometers or something distance.
Yeah, we can certainly put that in play and ask CAO. There's regulatory and there's land swap, and so there's several issues. But if that's the wishes of council, do you want to make that in a motion that we ask CAO to pursue that?
I'd like to make a motion that the CAO contacts DFO to see if we could trade property for the dredging site.
Okay, do we have a second for that, please?
I second that.
Seconded by Councillor McNeil. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion's carried. So we'll wait and see how long that process will take, and we'll start the inquiry this week if that's reasonable to the CAO.
Yep, I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for the CAO in regards to a report? We had at our last meeting allocated $5,000 to the Ukraine fund. Others municipalities have committed substantially more, up to 20 to 25,000. We're 3 weeks into that war invasion as it is right now, and 5,000 is not a lot of money. I'm wondering, is there an appetite to perhaps increase that amount, given that this has gone on longer than people expected? We know Guysborough has put in 25,000. We've already put in 5. Do we wish to increase our donation on behalf of the residents of Victoria County?
Yes. The only question I have is the other municipalities, obviously, they're much larger than Victoria County. So
Guysborough is but similar in size.
similar in size.
Yeah.
Guysborough has 4,000 residents.
I think it's a good initiative.
Others, any?
Councillor.
Councillor Patterson, any thoughts? You okay to increase the amount, or? Sorry, we were talking about increasing our donation to the Red Cross to the Ukraine. Yeah, so.
I wondered if Victoria County can, what do you call that? Like when you welcome people from the Ukraine to come here, the refugees, if we could be, if they could come here to be safe in Victoria County, is that something we can do, the initiative?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just a matter of contacting the federal government and immigration to let them know that we are interested in
Mhm.
any refugees that may want to seek safety in Canada, that we would be a municipality to consider. Yeah.
And I'm certainly up for increasing the amount.
Councillor McNeil, are you okay? And I know Councillor McLeod and Councillor Daphne are as well, Deputy Warden Daphne are as well. So, all right, so we'll increase that from 5 to 25, and then it's just a matter of putting in another 20. Am I correct on that?
You are, but I don't know if that's like, I think you want to decide on the number.
Well, they put in 25. Did we want to put in similar amount? We can afford that.
Sure, Jackie would be willing as well.
So we'll increase it by 20,000, and as long as we make the same condition that we did the other, it goes to Red Cross, that amount is doubled, or whoever it is, it's
Yeah.
doubled.
Yeah, it wasn't the Red Cross because they ran out of their matching, but we found another one
Okay.
that matched.
That's
Oh,
the critical
legitimate,
piece
yeah.
as well. Yeah. So we good with that? So we should have a motion to that effect to increase.
I'll make a motion that we increase the amount from the remaining amount of 20,000 equal to 25,000 for the Ukraine initiative.
Thank you, sir. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Councillor McNeil has seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. Thank you. Any other questions or comments for the CAO? Councillor McNeil?
There was one other thing the CAO mentioned that you might have an update on the ACAP meeting.
Yeah, I do. And in fact, we can deal with that. Right now, as you wish, we received a draft submission from Dr. Kathleen Akins from ACAP, and she has outlined 3 programs that could be beneficial to us. And what I would like to do with this is I'll circulate it to council. It's from ACAP, Councillor Patterson. There's a price tag for each of them. They are all environmental initiatives, more or less. And I think if I would like to have your comments and recommendations at next council meeting. So we'll table recommendations for this. And if you have any questions or comments, we'll deal with them at the next council session.
And I believe Lydia's, what her plan is to bring those to budget discussions also.
Yes, and you know, at the end of the day, you'll see in the document that the costs are around $15,500. So to start off with some green initiatives, I think it has value. So I'll circulate this around to you, and I expect your comments back and for discussion next council meeting. I want to thank Lydia for making contact with Dr. Akins, and I think there's a couple of programs that you were looking for specifically and mentioned that are captured in that document.
Lydia has an update on the 17th too, a Zoom meeting on this regarding, at least in my calendar.
Yes.
On ACAP. Okay. Yep.
So that for those of us that met with ACAP, there's a follow-up meeting that Lydia has scheduled for March 17th. And we will be discussing this document, and then we'll be bringing back our recommendations to council at the following meeting.
And so I just want to, I had March 16th in my head. Barb, I believe March 16th is the meeting that DFO is having with the public. Tomorrow, the 15th. Okay, I don't know what I had the 16th. Okay.
Thank you very much. Any other? We good? All right, we're going to move on to taxation update, and that's going to be provided by the CAO, please.
Yeah, so for taxation update, today, as of today, we have about $963,000 outstanding. We are $108,000 ahead of where we were at this time last year. Of that $963,000, we are $567 in current and $396,000 in arrears. So we are in better shape on our arrears, 134,000 better, and we're slightly higher on our current by about $26,000. Since our last update, since our last council session, we've received about $32,000 towards our outstanding taxes. And reminder that our next tax sale is March 22nd by tender. There's right now approximately 20 properties that are on there. They're available. The information on those is available on our website, and the listing is updated every Friday when something comes off of it. And our next tax sale that we are planning on having an on-site public one is scheduled for June 21st.
Any questions? Any questions in regards to the taxation update? Thank you for that. We're going to go next to Department of Public Works concerns and start with District Number 1, please.
Thank you, Warden. Just a couple of items. The Highland Hill Road is in dire need of repairs and ditching. I was in contact with Steve McDonald, MLA Keith Bain, and the OSS and Jamie Chisholm on this item. Also, the washout that was repaired in Iona a few weeks ago, it's still settling and nothing has been done about it. And it needs more gravel until the spring, until it can be patched. So I was again in touch with Steve McDonald on that item. And also, I don't know if there's a meeting schedule for the spring with Public Works, but I'll have to talk with Steve about issues like for the spring and summer, especially patching, mowing and cutting in the area. So thank you.
Thank you for the update, sir. District Number 4. Skip to number 4.
There was a bad washout in Tarbet this last rainstorm. There was a brook that overflowed, and I'm sure Steve McDonald must know about it because it's there's a lot of pylons put there, so I'm sure it'll be repaired. And that's the only thing I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. District Number 5.
Thank you, Warden. We have a meeting scheduled with the Deputy Minister on the 22nd, is it? Next? Yeah. So I'm assuming Steve and Jamie will be there too with him. Like Barbara, I think the washouts are becoming more and more prevalent with the rain we've been having. And, you know, we've said it for years, ditching would solve a lot of these problems. So I guess we have to keep on that chorus or whatever, that if they do proper ditching, it's going to save them in the long run because you're not going to get as many washouts or whatever. Couple of concerns about the snow plowing, not that we've had a lot of snow, but it seems to me anyway, that they're not using as much salt as they used to. And probably that's due to environmental reasons. I don't know for sure, but we can ask, I guess, when we see them next week. You know, even days where you get some sunshine, the packed snow is not melting off the roads as it should, you would think anyway. And we can verify it, but it seems to me there's not much salt we put on the roads, and that's probably the reason for it. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Warden. Just to, as Councillor McNeil stated, it would be good if maybe we could set up a meeting with the Public Works to see what their initiatives are for the spring rim projects and things like that. And my concerns were forwarded to Mr. McDonald. But I remember a while back, I think I made a motion for a letter to be sent to transportation in regard to the other piece from Effie's Brook to Cape North. It's suggested that Dingwall Road will be paved to 4.3 kilometers. Was there any correspondence back from that department for the other piece? Nothing. So maybe I'll save that for the meeting with the minister as well. And other than that, everything's up to par.
Thank you. Glad to hear that, sir. Just on the meeting on the 22nd, I thought just as what we've kind of done in the past is that we had the deputy minister there. I think maybe we look at it from two perspectives. I think we talked to the larger programs with him and leave the smaller details if you provide a list of what they'd like in advance for Steve. And we asked that Steve and Jamie Chisholm that they stay after the meeting. But I think with the deputy minister, we talked about funding, we talked about the major projects, we talked about equipment, those types of issues, the bigger ticket items. And the smaller ticket items, we'll ask if Jamie and Steve will stay after. And if you will send your list for Public Works meeting into Steph, she can compile that list. We can send it to Steve so he'll know in advance that we don't get bogged down, having to have a second meeting or a third meeting. They'll know what's the discussion. So we'll send you out an email to indicate. Does that sound reasonable? I should ask first.
Yep.
And so we'll send you out just instructions prior to the 22nd meeting with what our expectations would be.
Does that include items that we would like to see on a 5-year plan?
100%. Yeah. Now's your time to ask those guys. The deputy is there, and but I think those are, they're big ticket items, and then we'll pare them down from there. Did anybody have any other? I don't have any Public Works issues. It's pothole season. That explains everything as far as around the village. I'll just leave it at that. We're meeting with Keith Bain and Steve McDonald on the 21st, and we're just going to do a little drive around town and see how many streets are literally crumbling at this particular time. So that's on our radar. We have that scheduled. And keep in mind too that road issues are provincial issues, and this is our opportunity to bring those issues forward to the province. So Public Works has been dealt with. I should mention that Councillor McLeod did email me and asked me to mention in her district number 2, that Hillcrest Drive, a lot of potholes, et cetera, at the RCMP driveway location. So I said that I would bring that forward for her this evening as well. So we're going to move on to, are there any motions tonight? Notice of motions?
I would like to make a motion about to invite the people and the families fleeing from the Ukraine to seek refuge in Victoria County.
Very good.
Is that
Yes.
correct to make a motion for that, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Good point. And I should have picked up on that earlier. So I think that's either, I'm not sure, we'll let Leanne kind of look through. I'm not sure if that's federal immigration or provincial, but the federal immigration minister is from New Glasgow. So Scott Fraser, I think. So that should be in Sean Fraser. Is it Sean? So that should be an easy contact. Yeah, that's a very good point, Councillor. Do we have a seconder for that, please?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion's carried. Thank you for that, Barb. It's a good point. Yeah. District concerns. We'll start with Councillor McDonald, please.
Yes, thank you, Warden. No district concerns per se. I just want to send the open invitation that was provided by North Island Nordic on Monday, March 21st for the open house of the new edition of the 23x24 that was constructed. They're very grateful for the capital funding from Victoria County, and I would invite all council and administration to attend if possible.
Very good. Thank you very much for the invite. Are they having an official thing at 1 o'clock, or can we, I know we're meeting with, I'm hoping to get down, we're meeting with Steve. So is that at 1 o'clock they're going to do something, or is there a certain time we have to be there?
I'll find that out for sure.
Would you do that?
Sure
And
that
then we can
goes.
adjust the time here. I'd like to go down for sure. So thank you for that, and duly noted.
And that's it for District 8.
Thank you. It's a great investment that we made in that. The community deserves most credit for that. That's for sure.
What was the date again?
Councillor Patterson, any district concerns tonight?
Thank you. I received an email earlier today, and I think I distributed to everyone. Someone who is applying for tax exempt status, and they said they were a bit confused by the application. They wanted to make sure they checked all the right boxes. They said, does anyone review the applications before they come to council to see that they're providing all the information that's required? Okay, that would be done then. So if there's more information needed or whatever, they'll be contacted to fill in the dots or whatever, fill in the blanks. Okay, Okay, now I think, I don't know if you get a chance to read it, I just sent it this afternoon, but he's just concerned. And I think the thing was with the tax exempt, they had to write a letter, I think, in the past, right? Or there was no real application process.
There was nothing to do. So
And now
that was
we've combined
passed.
it into the same thing. So I think they were just confused about the change in process.
Sure.
And I guess, like I said, if there's stuff that has to be, or more information has to be provided, he'll be notified and given a chance to do that.
Yep. So,
Okay.
but that's also, so if your constituents are contacting you on that, you should be up to speed on that as well, so that you have the information or forward it on to our finance department for sure. But yes, there's a box to tick off for property tax exemption.
I think he just sent it to me. He didn't copy it to you or anything. So I sent it to.
Right. So there was no application that was attached on that. It just said that they had applied online.
He applied online. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McNeil, any district concerns tonight?
Just a couple of things. Actually, there was some work being done on the streetlights on the bridge
Wow.
in the last week. I don't know how much work was done. I didn't take a drive down at night, but there were trucks there. And yeah. I'll give an update next meeting. And also, like I said in the presentation, we're planning a welcome wagon event on April 10th at the Royal Canadian Legion in Iona to welcome newcomers in the district and throughout Victoria County if anybody wants to come. So hope I'll have more information about that at our next meeting too. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. That it? Thank you. Any district concerns, Councillor Long?
Yes, I think my mic is dying, but do we have a bylaw about feeding wild animals? Because there's an issue of people are feeding fox in my area. And there's people concerned because it is causing problems with farm animals and other issues. And they were wondering if there's something that can be done about it.
No, I think you contact DNR for that. Yeah.
Okay, I will pass that along. And the tax exemption that you're talking about, is that just for nonprofits? Is that what you were referring to, Fraser?
Yeah. Yep. So
It's just for nonprofits. It's not like there's no program for people that have problem paying their taxes.
So we have a low income, application that's available downstairs to the tax department. It's not a seniors one. It is for anyone with low income that are having trouble paying their taxes. So yes, we do. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So contact downstairs, contact the girls
Yeah,
downstairs.
thank you.
Include that information on the tax bills, don't we? Or is that?
Yeah, I believe it's all on the back of the
It's on the
tax
tax
bills. Yep. It's probably on our website as well.
So it's that they would have more time to pay it off. It's not that they would pay less tax. It would just be over.
There's a grant. There's a
Oh,
grant that's available. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's $250 that's available.
2 or 250.
I think if we put it up to 250. Yeah.
Thank you.
Again, in the absence of Councillor McLeod, she asked me under district concerns just to recognize that a very prominent resident, not only in her district in Middle River, but also in Cape Breton, Jackie K.R. McDonald from Midway Motors, passed away last week. Remarkable business individual. They have ran Midway Motors, been in existence since 1926. So just a phenomenally successful business. Always kept their rural roots very close to their operation. And again, highly regarded not only in our county, but certainly in Cape Breton and across the island, across this province. Make no mistake about it. So we just want to acknowledge the contribution he made to Victoria County and express our condolences to his family as well. So we lost a real business leader with Jackie's passing. Very fine man. District 3 concerns, I just have two quick things. The CAO and I met with the village commissioners at their meeting last Wednesday. They are having a public meeting April 4th. And I would suggest that if as councillors, it might be a good meeting for you to attend. We will respect whatever decisions the ratepayers of the village make that night. If they stay as a village, it doesn't necessarily impact us. That's the history will continue. And we've always had a great relationship with the village. If they decide they want to dissolve the village, there will be issues through that will impact the operation, particularly administratively with the municipality. So I think if you want firsthand knowledge and firsthand information, I would strongly suggest if you are available, join us at the meeting on April 4th. I think it's at 7 o'clock.
And they have asked us to do a presentation to the residents on what it would look like if they were to dissolve. So we are waiting on some information from the village so that we can pick that apart so that we know what it's going to look like for passing on an area rate.
I think it's at the Inverine Conference Center. And please let me know if you are coming, because I think we could probably, given that we are municipal representatives, we could probably make sure that, I'm not sure what COVID restrictions will be in place, but if you want to secure a seat, let me know so that I can make arrangements with them that we are given a seat in the room.
I'm going to be away from March 30th to April 13th.
Okay.
So the next meeting of council, I hope I will be able to do Zoom.
Okay. Yeah. Great. We can do that. And the last thing, I just sent some correspondence around in regards to the Justice Center at Wagmacook. I've sent it to you and we're awaiting a response, and I'm just passing that along for your information. So the last item on the agenda this evening is committee reports. Is there any committee reports?
The senior council for SAPI is March 31st. So
March 31st
I'll get details where
okay.
I think it's in Eskasoni.
Eskasoni. Okay. I'll attend if I can. Okay. Any other committee reports? Just want to mention very quickly, the Accessibility Committee met last Thursday. We have received applications, and we have accepted those applications. We have 3 members from the public that have joined us, 4 actually that have joined us. So we have adopted the terms of reference. Those people represent people with mobility issues, with sight issues, with hearing issues. So it's a real nice mix, and we're going to rely on their input as we prepare our plan and move it forward. And as that plan becomes more developed, we'll be bringing it back to council for approval. So very pleased with that. It was a very good meeting. And I should mention too that I also received a note from Deputy Warden just in regards to under district concerns, and I should have mentioned it. There is a question about the permit issues with Smoky Holdings right now with relation to their
Tree walk.
Tree walk, thank you. And so I don't know if Leanne, if the municipality has been asked to be involved in any aspect of that, but we want to make it very clear that we're very supportive of that tree walk being constructed, and hopefully those permits will be issued and a reasonable resolution can happen. So I don't know if you have any updates on that or not.
I do, yes. So I was speaking with Joseph and Martin and Yuri. I had a meeting with them today, and they said that there's just a few things that they're working through. So they're not, they're looking to have a meeting with the province for getting anything resolved on those. And they are full steam ahead, except for a couple of little things that are holding the back on that. So
Very good. Let's hope that it's a major investment down there. Let's hope it continues as
Yes.
planned.
They were not, they said they're working through the permits.
Good. And I want to thank the deputy warden for bringing that and sending me a note to make sure that we brought it up to council tonight. The deputy warden has worked long and hard in that project, is very supportive of Smoky development. So is there anything else come to council tonight? Our next meeting, just so you remember, it's kind of like daylight saving time. We are changing our council meetings for the next little while to 2:00 in the afternoon. So our next meeting is scheduled for, our next council meeting is scheduled for March 28th. We have some meetings on March 22nd. They are in your calendar. Those are public meetings as well. But our next formal council meeting, 2 p.m., March 28th. We didn't have any questions from anybody online this evening.
No questions. No questions online.
Any no other comments? We will ask for a motion to adjourn, please. Moved by Councillor Patterson. All in favor? Contrary minded. Thank you for your time and attention tonight, and we'll see you 2:00 on the 28th, and the other meetings are in your calendars. I want to thank Dan for his help tonight.